Okay, please listen and pay attention and take notes. You're going to take a test on this later this week here. Solve the equation for x. Got two answers. At this point in the class, it's a quadratic equation with two answers. You need to get the equation equal to 0, which you are. You're already equal to 0. If not, you have to get the 0 yourself, but that's not an issue here. Three terms, GCF and the table. GCF out of 1, 3, and 40 is 1. X on everything, nope. Negative, nope. ABC, now, before you make your table, your A is a 1. You only need two parentheses with X and X. Because that was just an x squared, that's x times x when I do the opposite of the FOIL. 1 times negative 40 is negative 40. Negative, so it's a positive times a negative. You're adding to try to get to negative 3. 1 and 40, no. Divide by 2, I get 20. No. 3 is a decimal. Divide by positive 4, you get negative 10. No. Positive 5, you get negative 8. Yup. 5 plus negative 8 is negative 3. You got the right signs and everything. Plus 5 minus 8. Did you do anything in the GCF box? Nope. So you have factored the expression. Now, you set each factor equal to 0. And that'll take you to your two solutions. Minus 5, you get negative 5. Add 8, you get positive 8. There's a way you can check your answers. Plug negative 5 into the equation, so you got 1, negative 5, click the second power, minus 3, negative 5, minus 40. 0, just like it says. 8 does the same thing. Okay, next problem, you got two answers. So it's a quadratic equation. You got to find two solutions. Your 0 has to be there, which it is. That's two terms. You got to figure out the greatest common factor. And then you're going to see if you have a difference of perfect squares. Okay, 2 and 14, GCF would be 2. You would need to put an x with it because both of those have x, and wouldn't be negative because the front 2 is positive, so I factor out 2x. Then I go divide by 2x, and I end up with 1x minus 7. Now, if the x isn't to the second power, and it's not, x squared over x is x. Quit putting the second power on the x right there after you have divided. See, x second divided by x would be x times x divided by x. Cancels, you end up with just x. Okay, second power is not there. Don't have to worry about the dots. So you factored it right there. It's all the further you can factor it. 2x could equal 0, or 1x minus 7 could equal 0. So here we divide by 2, I get 0. Here we add 7, I get 7. Really, it's pointless to divide by 1, so 0 and 7. Okay, next problem is not a quadratic equation. There is only one solution. That means it is a linear equation. Pick an x. Let's pick the 5. Get that over here by subtracting it. So you got 3 equals 5x plus 33. Then it's simple. You just subtract 33 now. That's negative 30 equals 5x. Now divide by 5. Negative 30 divided by 5 is negative 6. So I do throw in a linear equation here and there. Okay, 6x to the second power minus 13x minus 5 equals 0. You got two answers. So you have to have the 0 on one side because you're going to factor. You already have it, three terms. GCF. Then I see if my table is going to work out. GCF, 6, 13, and 5 would be 1. Okay. You wouldn't put an x, you wouldn't put a negative. Now, this time the A is a 6. So again, to get that factored right, you're going to make 4 parentheses starting with 6x. Okay, 6 times negative 5 is negative 30. So that's a positive times a negative, and we're trying to add to get to negative 13. 1 and 30, that's negative 29. Divide by 2, you get 15. There's your negative 13. Right number, right sign, we're gold. Plus 2 minus 15. Now we'll be dividing in both of them here because 6 and 2 are in the second row. That's 3x plus 1. 6 and 15 are in a common row. Okay, look, they're in the third row, so you divide by 3. So that's now 2x minus 5. So I've now factored this into 3x plus 1 times 2x minus 5. F1, F2. So 3x plus 1 equals 0. 2x minus 5 equals 0. Minus 1. 0 minus 1 is negative 1. Divide by 3. Negative 1 divided by 3 is not 3. Okay, I've seen that way too many times. It's negative 1/3. You can write it as a decimal, but just don't put negative 3. Plus 5. 2x equals 5. Divide by 2. 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. You can also put 5 over 2. If it's not a story problem, it's your choice whether you want a fraction or a decimal. A story problem, I want the decimal. Okay, next problem. There will be 2 answers. It's a quadratic equation. You got to have it equal to 0, which you do. Okay. So there's only 2 terms. So I'd go GCF and then see if I have a difference of perfect squares. Okay, 9 and 16. I'm not seeing those in a row other than 1. You wouldn't take an x, you wouldn't take a negative. Okay, now you have x to the second, right? You also have a 9 in front, but 9's a perfect square, so it's 3x, 3x. You have the minus. 16 is 4 times 4. So I go 3x, 3x plus 4 minus 4. And I have factored that into these two. If you did the FOIL method, the 2 in the middle would cancel out, which is why you don't see a regular x. So 3x plus 4 equals 0. 3x minus 4 equals 0. 3x equals negative 4. You can divide that or just leave it negative 4/3. If you divided it, it'd be 1.3, negative 1.3 repeating. And this is the same answer, it's just positive. 4 over 3. Okay. Next one, 2x to the second power minus 10x equals 0. You got 2 answers. And two answers with 2 terms. GCF. DOPS. Okay, 2 and 10 are in the second row together. They both have x, so 2x is factored out. And again, that's 1x, not x to the second, minus 5. Now, since x isn't to the second, there's no point in even considering doing a difference of perfect squares. So there's your factoring. Put that in parentheses, and you get F1 and F2. So 2x equals 0, 1x minus 5 equals 0. The whole point of factoring a quadratic equation to solve is to separate it into 2 linear factors that equal 0. So 1x equals 5. 0 and 5. Okay, keep it rolling. 14x to the second minus 20x plus 6 equals 0. There's 2 answers. So the 0 should be there. It is. You got 3 terms. GCF and then the table. 14, 20, and 6, those would all appear in the second row. 6, 14, 20. So 2 is the greatest common factor. You wouldn't take an x with it. You just factor a 2 out. That's 7x squared minus 10x plus 3. ABC. 7 times 3 is 21, positive, so it'd be a negative times a negative this time. And I'm adding the factors to make negative 10. But first, let's get the parentheses. Since the a is a 7 and not a 1, you're going to miss like 4 points on a question if you put xx. Okay, it's 7. It starts off as 7x, 7x. Then it goes 1 and 21. That adds to negative 22. 21 isn't divided by 2 is a decimal. 21 divided by 3 is 7. Boom. Minus 3 minus 7. 7 and 3 are both in the first row. Okay, so divide by 1, you're still at that. You divide here by 7. That's x minus 1. 1x if you want. Okay, now you did do something in the GCF box, the 2. You pull the 2 down, and now that has been factored. So F1, F2. 2 doesn't get an F label because it doesn't have the x. 7x minus 3 equals 0. X minus 1 equals 0. Well, this one's easy. It's 1. If I put a 1 in front of the x, it's still 1. Plus 3, that's 3. 3 divided by 7, I'm going to leave it 3/7. Okay, you don't have x to the second power here, homie. So, it's a linear equation. You only have one x term. Just get that over here. Plus 6, that's 22. Divide by 2. 22 divided by 2 is 11. Bam. Okay, x is to the second. It's a quadratic equation then. By the way, if you don't have x to the second, it's called a linear equation. If it's x to the second, it's called a quadratic. Quadratics have 2 solutions. You're equal to 0. Okay, 2 terms. GCF. Then we see if we have a difference of perfect squares. 3 and 15 is in the third row. You would have to also use an x with your 3 because x squared and x means I factor out an x. Okay, so it's going to be 1x. Don't put the second power on that. Not when you're dividing x squared by x. Minus 5. Okay. You don't have a second power. Not adopts. Equals 0. So 3x could equal 0, or 1x minus 5 could equal 0. So I divide by 3, I get 0. Add a 5, you get 5, you don't need to divide by 1. 2 answers. So you're set, you're equal to 0, that's good. 3 terms, GCF table. 1, 6, and 16, that's only in the first row. There's not an x on every one of them. The 16 is a constant. No negative needed. 1 times negative 16 is negative 16. That's a positive times a negative. You're trying to add to get to negative 6. By the way, your a is a 1, so you'll just need 2 parentheses written as x times x. 1 and 16, nope. Positive 2, negative 8, yep, that would work. So plus 2 minus 8 equals 0. You didn't do anything in the GCF, so this is the end of the factoring. Now you split your 2 linear factors into 2 different equations. X plus 2 equals 0, x minus 8 equals 0. So I minus 2, I get negative 2. I plus 8, I get positive 8. Okay, number 3, x equals, there's only one answer because it's a linear equation. So you don't need to get the 0, okay? So don't get rid of both of these, just get rid of the x. That will be 2x minus 4 equals 6. Then I add 4. 2x equals 10. Divide by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Okay, next problem. 2 answers. You have the 0. You got 3 terms. So GCF table. 5, 2, and 7 is just in the first row. 7's a constant, so you can't do an X, and no negative. Now, ABC. Now, remember your A is a 5 here, not a 1, so it's 4 parentheses, and you start with 5X, 5X. Now, to figure out the rest of it, you got to find your AC product table. 5 times negative 5 is negative 35, so I'm adding to try to get to negative 2. Positive times negative, 1 and 35. Nope. 2 is a decimal, 3 is a decimal, 35 divided by 4 is a decimal. If I divide by 5, I get 7. Bam, boom goes the dynamite. So plus 5 minus 7. I divide here by 5, since they're the same number, that becomes x plus 1. And that stays the same because they're only in the first row. So 5x minus 7. Didn't do anything in the GCF box, equals 0. So x plus 1 equals 0, 5x minus 7 equals 0. So I subtract 1, I get negative 1. I don't need to divide here. Add 7, and then divide by 5. 7 divided by 5 is 1.4, so you can put 7 over 5 if you want, or 1.4. Okay, 2 answers. Okay, so 0's there. You got 2 terms. GCF and difference of perfect squares. Okay, 4 and 36. Well, there's 4, there's 36, so 4. Okay, just 4 though. 36 is a constant, meaning I won't be factoring x out. Okay, it's going to be 1. Now it stays x to the second because I'm not dividing an x with the 4. Minus 9. You can get that 1 out of there. So x to the second is x times x. The minus is there, and 9's 3 by 3. So it's x, 3, 3. Don't forget to drop your 4 down. Equals 0. So these are the only 2 factors that matter. If the 4 had an x, it would matter, but it doesn't. So x plus 3 equals 0. So I get negative 3. X minus 3 equals 0. I get positive 3. Boom. Okay, next one. A picture is 8 by 7 inches. I'm going to put a border around the outside. When I do, the combined area is going to be 110 square inches. How wide should my border be? This is a shape. So with shape problems, you split that in half, and you set it equal to what the area is, which is 110. Now draw the shape here. Okay, it's 8 by 7, but you're building a border around the outside. So how do you get the area? You multiply the length by the width, but I need to take the length and the width of the whole thing, not just the 7 by 8. Okay, so here's my length. Okay, so between here and here is 8, and then you got x here and x here. Okay, so that's 2x plus 8. And the width does the same thing, except in the middle you got 7. So it's 2x plus 7. Now do the FOIL method. 2x times 2x, 2x times 7, 8 times 2x, and 8 times 7. So that's 4x squared, 14x, 16x, and 56. So I got my 4x squared. I combine my x's into 30x, and then plus 56. Now this is no longer a story problem. Okay, it has 2 answers. It's a quadratic. You have to have the equals 0. I need a 0 there. I don't have it, so I minus 110, and I can do that nicely with the 56. So it's in simplest form. Okay, 56 minus 110 is going to be negative 54. And now you got 3 terms to factor. So GCF, followed by the table. Okay, now take your 4 over here and list all the factors. It's in the 4th row, the 2nd row, the 1st row. if I take 30 divided by 4, nah, doesn't work. Divide them all by 2. 30 divided by 2 is 15. 54 divided by 2 is 27. So 2 works. So we factor out a 2, and that's 2x squared plus 15x minus 27. Now I go A, B, C, and I make my parentheses, but A is a 2, so I need 4 of them, starting with 2x. 2 times negative 27 is negative 54, okay? So you're trying to add to get positive 15. Positive times negative, 1 and 54, no dice. 2 and 27, nope. Divide by 3, you get 18. Now if you add those, that's negative 15. To make it positive 15, the 18's plus, the 3's negative. So minus 3 plus 18. Now 2 and 3 are in the first row, so that'll stay 2x minus 3. 2 and 18 are both in the second row, and that's going to be x plus 9, or 1x plus 9. You had a GCF of 2, you put that down, but when you go to solve it, these are the only factors I use. So 2x minus 3 equals 0, x plus 9 equals 0. So add 3, 2x equals 3. 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. I want you to put the decimal on a story problem. Minus 9, you get negative 9. So 1.5 is the real answer. That's how many inches I got. Okay, battery's dying. There's another video I sent you. Just click on it for the last 2. Thank you.